Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Necromunda. I've not done Necromunda on the channel before. What is Necromunda? Necromunda is a skirmish game. Well, I call it a skirmish game if you're not familiar with the nomenclature. I suppose a skirmish game is like a tabletop game like 40k, but the focus typically tends to be on very, very small warbands. So you'll play with like 6 to 10 miniatures instead of, dozens and dozens and dozens of minis. You're not fighting big battles, you're fighting small skirmishes. Necromunda, when did they originally release Necromunda? I don't remember, but a long time ago. Necromunda has been around for a long time. It's a Games Workshop game that's set in the 40k universe. It's set on the hive city of Necromunda. And in this video I'm going to assume you have a passing familiarity with 40k, otherwise there's going to be too much to explain. But on the hive city of, the hive planet even of Necromunda, there are many different houses and clans that rule different bits of the planet in the various hive cities that stud the entire thing all over. And Necromunda is the story of the gang battles that occur between the members of these clans down in the Underhive, in the grubby, dark, old, lower levels of the huge hive cities. A hive city in 40k is essentially like, imagine a giant dome, a massive dome, almost like a beehive actually. Just imagine a giant dome built into the surface of the planet. At the very top you've got the spires, where all the really, really rich people live. You go below that, you have Hive City, as it's called, where everybody else lives. All the workers, all the factory workers, everybody that lives there, that needs to keep the place running. Below that, you have the Underhive, which is all the lower sections that have quite often been abandoned, or they're ruled by the different clans and used as headquarters and things, where lots of skullduggery occurs. And the majority of Necromunda happens in the Underhive. These disused, damaged, dangerous sections of these absolutely gigantic hive cities where the various gangs of the different houses fight for dominance. And that's what we're doing today. We're down here in the Underhive. As you can see, I've got a lot of these Zone Mortalis wall things set up. There's some disused machinery down here. There's a derelict building or two. Some old pipe work, an old silo, presumably maybe with something still in it. Lots of old bulkheads and automatic doors that hopefully still work. And this is our little battlefield for today. This video is a bit of a test, essentially, really. I just want to kind of attempt the concept of filming a Necromunda battle report, see how it goes. And if it works well, then I might do some more Necromunda on the channel. Because Necromunda is one of those games where you can play like a one-off skirmish of it, just a one-off game of it between two gangs, and that's okay. But what makes it really good is the campaign mechanics, where you play a series of games that are linked together, and the different members of your gangs level up, essentially, and they get advancements, and they get new equipment, and the gangs earn money, which they can spend on things, and eventually, one of them comes out on top ahead of all the others to rule the Underhive. At least until the next lot come along to sort of topple them back down again, eh? But, yeah. Necromunda, I really like it. I've been playing it every other day for the last couple of weeks now, and I've been really enjoying it. Now, this is going to be a solo game of Necromunda at the moment. I've got a game of 40k planned with Dan later this month, but I haven't got any 40k. I haven't got any Necromunda planned just yet. I know he's got some old Necromunda gangs, so I'm trying to talk him into giving it a go, and I'm also trying to maybe talk Alf into having a go as well. But for now, this is just a solo game because I think Necromunda actually works surprisingly well as a solo game. Actually, for context, I did a lot of solo 40k battle reports on my channel back during the height of lockdown and the pandemic and stuff. Because I wasn't allowed to have guests over, really, to play. So I started doing these solo battle reports, and people seem to like them. So I'm hoping people also like this. Right, that's the gist of it. We're in the Underhive. We're in a section here with some old machinery in it. Lots of old crates of bits and bobs. Like I said, an old silo, a ruined building that's all collapsed down and nobody's come by to bother to repair it in many, many, many years. Deep down in the Underhive, where the dark and terrible things live. Two gangs, they come walking into this zone. They're poking around. They're two very small gangs, you know. They don't have many credits between them. And they're just poking around, basically looking for some loot, for some salvage they can just take and sell. And then they bump into each other. And things don't go very well. And a fight breaks out. Perhaps they're two rival gangs that just don't like each other at all. They start shooting without even asking any questions. I suspect that's what's going to happen. So, yeah, here we go. I'm going to play some Necromunda. I will do my best to explain the game mechanics as I go. This is not by any means going to be a tutorial on how to play Necromunda, and I'm probably going to get a bunch of things wrong, because I'm still learning the game, really. But, yeah, I'll try and explain it as best I can as we go along. So, having never done this before, I don't know what the format really should be, so I guess we'll go have a look at the gangs. Yeah, let's go have a look at the gangs. Alright, here's gang number one. These are a gang from House Escher. House Escher, they are the clan that works and lives in the hive. They're not one of the noble houses, but they're one of the clan houses, as they're called, that live in the lower levels of the hive. And their thing is that they have basically a complete and total monopoly on chem production in Necromunda. And to the point where they not only supply pretty much the entire planet with its source of chems, and there's lots and lots of uses for chems in the 41st millennium, they actually export them off-world as well. They also have a huge hand in weapons manufacturing as well. They export a hell of a lot of las guns and general equipment for the Imperial Guard off-planet as well. And the gang, unusually for the rest of the gangs in Necromunda, is exclusively female. They're all female, because previous generations of Eschers, essentially, they dabbled a lot in genetic manipulation, and essentially catastrophically buggered it. They really screwed up, and essentially what happened is they managed to make all the male members of their house that follow their genetic bloodline completely and utterly... well, they turned them into mewling little sort of blobs, you know. They're sort of completely useless. They die very, very quickly. They're basically useful only for harvesting genetic material from, and they die as soon as they reach maturity, and they're completely useless. And the house essentially had to adapt to basically being a female-only operation, because all the men were, these horrible, shrunken, tiny, mewling, mutant man-children things. So the Eschers are all female. This gang, in particular, they're called the War Maidens. They're a small gang of 6 Eschers. There's only 6 of them, but they are surprisingly well equipped, actually, for a small gang. The theme I went for with these girls is basically they looted a cache of military supplies that was supposed to be going off-world to the Imperial Guard. They just sort of hijacked the transport carrying it, nicked everything inside, and so they're actually quite well equipped, and you can see they're sporting a few bits of Imperial Guard paraphernalia here and there. The real reason for this is when I was building them originally, a long time ago now, I had loads of spare Imperial Guard bits to customize them with, and so I just went with it. So that's the theme for this lot. They're just very well equipped because they've looted a supply cache, and they're called the War Maidens. From left to right then, we have a regular gang, which in the House Escher I think is just called a sister. I read the sort of main codex books for each of the gangs fairly recently. I'm still trying to remember it all in my head. But this lady's called Red. Her twin sister next to her is called Blue. We'll get to her in a minute. This is Red. She has an auto gun. She has... does she have anything else? I don't think... She has a holstered pistol there, but I don't think I had enough credits to actually buy it. It's a 1,000 credit gang. Both the gangs today are 1,000 credits, because that's what you typically start a campaign with. And if I do start a campaign, essentially what you see here is what we're going to end up with. at the start of said campaign. But she's got an auto gun. It's essentially just, it's an assault rifle like in real life. It fires bullets. Next to her, we've got Blue, her older sister, older by like 30 seconds or whatever, because they're identical twins. And Blue is the gang's champion. She's very good in close combat. She has slightly better stats than the others. She is armed with quite a few weapons, actually. She's got a stiletto sword, which is this sword she's carrying here, which essentially is a nasty little blade, which has a poisoned toxin thing on it, which when she stabs someone with it, it doesn't do damage in the normal fashion. In fact, it can like instantly kill someone. It's quite nasty. She also is carrying a shotgun, and slung over her shoulder is a lasgun as well. So she's got a choice of weapons. You can have 3 maximum in Necromunda, so I gave her 3. In the middle, we have the gang's leader. She's just referred to as Sarge. That's what the girls call her. She has a power sword, nicked from said cache, along with that rather fetching-looking cap there. And she's got a stiletto sword as well. I think eventually, if I were doing a campaign and I was getting more credits, I'd replace that stiletto sword with another power sword so she can dual wield. But she's got a stiletto sword and a power sword, depending on which you prefer to use. She also, slung over her back, has a bolt gun that's actually a combi weapon. It's a combi bolt gun and needler, which fires like toxin darts at whoever's unfortunate enough to get in the way of them. Quite nasty. She has the best stats in the gang because she's the leader. She's very good in close combat. That's why she's got 2 melee weapons. Next on, we have a regular ganger called Screamer. Mostly because I painted her hair Screamer pink, so she's called Screamer. She has a lasgun. Now, lasguns in Necromunda are interesting because they're not completely rubbish. The main advantage they have is that they are very, very reliable and quite accurate. Particularly, they almost never run out of ammo. And ammo is a thing in Necromunda. It's definitely a thing. You have to reload your weapons if you run out of ammo. And if you're using a very fancy gun, like this fancy needler bolter thing like Sarge has, they can be quite difficult to reload. So it's all well and good having a really nice fancy gun, but if you run out of ammo in the first turn of the game, you can be in a lot of trouble. Screamer just has a standard, reliable little lasgun. I think she also has a frag grenade. And grenades in Necromunda, they use blast markers. They use these things like you used to get in 40k back in the day. Yeah, the blast marker and the flamer template is alive and well in Necromunda. Next we have Tank. Tank is a specialist. Tank has a nightshade chem thrower and a backup lasgun slung over her shoulder as well. A chem thrower basically is a gas weapon. It uses the flamethrower template, this thing. But basically anyone it hits has a very high chance of being completely knocked unconscious or very badly injured at the very least. It's a nasty little weapon. It's quite difficult to reload if you do run out of ammo with it, but it's a rather nice weapon. It can be quite easily countered, however, if the opposing gang is wearing respirators. And some of the opposing gang today are wearing respirators, but it's a nice weapon nonetheless. And last we have Stalker. She has a lasgun as well. She also, however, is armed with a choke gas grenade, a frag grenade, and a stiletto knife, which is much like the stiletto sword, just obviously it's smaller and it's a knife and it doesn't have quite as good stats. But Stalker is just a regular ganger. However, yeah, on account of the fact that she's got a nice accurate lasgun and she's got a stiletto knife and a couple of rather nice grenades, including the choke gas grenade, she's not to be underestimated, really. So that's it. Just 6 Eschers, but they have some rather nice equipment. So that's why there's so few of them. This typically, I'm given to understand, is a gang, the Eschers, where typically they tend to outnumber their opponents because they can get lots and lots of bodies on the field for cheap. But this gang is not so much the case. I kind of gave them all the gear and no idea in this scenario to suit the theme I went with for them. Possibly not a very clever decision, but there it is. So, those are the Eschers. They're going to be wandering into this sector of the Underhive today looking for loot. The question is, who are they going to find coming in the other direction? Let's go have a look at them. Right, these guys are the Ironbreakers. They are a gang from House Goliath. Now, House Goliath, they originally, quite ironically really, they were created by House Escher. House Escher and House Van Saar got together and decided to try and make some genetically enhanced very stupid, very easily commanded workers to work in the increasingly dangerous factory environments of Necromunda. And they succeeded in this. The problem is the Goliaths quickly ended up rebelling against them, and turns out if you give a bunch of really, really, really tough, really, really strong dudes lots and lots of nasty weapons, and you shoot them with data slugs as soon as they're born out of cloning vats that teach them how to fight and how to survive and stuff like that, you've basically created a bunch of slave soldiers that at any point could turn on you, and that's what they did in the end. House Goliath rebelled against the Eschers, and successfully, well, they became free, because essentially what they did is they turned around to the leaders of Necromunda, the planetary governors, etc., and said, right, okay, here's the deal. We don't want to be slaves anymore, but we are more than happy to run all of your factories and all of your forges for you free of charge. To which the governors of the planet said, you know what, that sounds like a fair deal. All right, then. And so House Goliath was born. So as I said, they're all mutants, essentially. They're almost abhumans, like Ogrins. Not as stupid, though, but also equally not as strong. They are about as big and as tough as a space marine, actually. Goliaths are no bloody joke. I don't know why the camera's going all blurry there for a second, because I apologise for that. They're no joke, Goliaths. They are quite monstrous fellows indeed. Most of them are born out of vats, cloning vats, as I said. Some of them are naturally born, but most of them are born out of cloning vats. They have a very, very short lifespan. They're very violent. They're not particularly clever, but they're very good at fighting, and they're very good at running the forges. You know, these guys basically spend all their time building, you know, tanks and heavy industry, and probably bits of starships and stuff that end up going off-world. These guys are some of the biggest money makers on Necromunda, actually, which is one of the reasons why they're permitted to continue existing. Now, these guys, as I said, this gang here, there's 6 of them, just like the Eschers, and these guys are called the Ironbreakers. They're a pretty standard Goliath gang, really. They work, you know, they've all previously worked in the forges. They formed a gang together, and now they do the bidding of the higher-ups, of the alphas, as they're called in House Goliath, going around doing jobs for the bosses, and cracking heads and skulls quite gleefully when the opportunity arises, as it's going to today. So, from left to right, we have a regular Goliath gang, I think called a Bruiser. This guy's called Stripes, because he has stripes on him. They're Goliaths, you know, they're not literary geniuses, really. He has 2 melee weapons. This one here, this wrench-looking thing, is called a Spudjacker. That thing he's holding in his other hand is called a Brute Cleaver. He also has a couple of grenades. He's got a frag grenade and he's got a crack grenade. Next up, we have Chuckles. Chuckles is called Chuckles because he laughs a lot. He's a bit stupid, even by Goliath standards, but he has a very large rivet cannon, and it makes him chuckle. It makes him giggle when he shoots people with it, and they explode into lots of little bits. The rivet cannon's a nasty weapon, actually. You can rapid fire with it, and it does what it says on the tin. It shoots rivets at people. And you can fire a superheated rivet on it with it as well, which will actually do lots of damage. And also, if the target survives somehow, they'll actually also be set on fire, which is brilliant. Next to him, we have the gang leader. Oh, I should point out he's a champion as well, so he has slightly better stats, Chuckles. Next to him, we have the gang leader called Bonk. Why is he called Bonk? Because that's exactly what he does with his big power hammer all day long. He also has a combi plasma and stub gun. A stub gun is essentially, you know, it's like a revolver type weapon that fires very big, large caliber slugs at people. And it's a combi weapon which has a plasma pistol component as well. Bonk, well, he bonks things really hard. Really, really hard. Enough said, really. Not much else to mention. Next to him we have Butcher. Why is he called Butcher? Because that's what he does all day long, with this big serrated axe of his, which is called, I believe, a renderizer. In my personal experience, Butcher tends to absolutely eviscerate anything he gets in base-to-base contact with. He's really, really scary. I believe he's also got some stim slugs. Those are the green things dangling from his belt there, which he can choose to inject himself with and go mad. These guys also have skills. I'll get to the skills later, as they come up in the game, hopefully. Previously, when I've been playing learning games, I've been forgetting the skills entirely, but leaders and champions have skills, you see, so... Anyway, next up we have Thud. This is Thud. Thud likes things that go boom and make loud noises. That's why it's called Thud. Thud has a combat shotgun. It can fire 2 modes. It has salvo fire, and it has scatter shot. You can fire scatter shot shells, which again they use the flamethrower template. He basically just sprays an entire area with bits of shot from his shotgun, and it's quite nasty. Actually, it's quite nasty. He's also got some grenades. I believe he has a frag grenade, a crack grenade, and a smoke grenade. And last but not least, we have Gaz. Gaz has a respirator, as you can see. So does Butcher, actually. Butcher and Gaz both have respirators. Respirators, English. Gaz also has a stub cannon. Again, it's like the stub gun, but bigger. It's got a revolver kind of thing going on. It fires really big, massive slugs at people. Does quite a bit of damage if it hits someone. That's the tricky part, though, if it hits someone. And, yeah, not much else to say about him. He's a regular ganger, and his fruit-killing skills are remarkable. Okay, that's the Goliaths. That's the Iron Breakers. We've looked at both the gangs now. I think what we need to do next is... gang tactics. That's the thing. Right, so in Necromunda you have gang tactics, and they're a little bit like stratagems in 40k, but the difference is that in each scenario, on the scenario page in the rulebook, it tells you how many gang tactics you can actually pick to use in that scenario. In this case, it's 2. I think the scenario is called Tunnel Skirmish / Standoff, or whatever. These are the Eschers gang tactics for today. They have a unique Escher tactic called Stealthy Advance, which you play this card after both the gangs have been set up at the start of the battle. Before the first round begins, up to half the fighters in your crew, rounding up, can immediately make a standard move. So basically, it allows the Eschers to do a bit of movement before the game actually begins. Very nice. The other one they've got is Last Gasp. You play this when one of your active fighters is taken out of action, i.e. when they effectively, when they're killed or whatever. Before the fighter is removed from play, essentially they can attack. So before the ganger goes down, she gets to attack one more time, out of spite, if nothing else. So those are the 2 gang tactics that the Eschers have for these games. They can use either of these cards once, then it's gone. Nice and simple. The Goliaths over here, they've got a couple of tactics of their own. A couple of unique ones to them, actually. 2 Goliath tactics. The first one is Brutal Charge. Basically, you get an extra... their movement characteristic is increased by 2 inches, so they can charge a bit further, a bit more reliably. They get an extra attack, and the attacks they do gain have the knockback trait, because you can knock people backwards in this game. It's kind of cool. We also have Unstoppable Behemoth, and you basically play this before you're making an injury roll for a fighter to see how badly they were injured by an enemy attack, and you basically just play this and nothing happens. You play that, and you just say, yep, no, you didn't injure me. Nothing happened. Really, 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 really useful little tactic. Then it can win or lose you a game. That actually, it's really good. So those are the gang tactics. Let's do deployment. All right, we're deployed. Not that you can see particularly easily in amongst all this terrain. It's a very big table, this, for such a small game. To be honest with you, I've gone for a 4-foot by 4-foot battlefield because that's how big the mat I have is. Also, it's a very shiny mat. I don't like that, to be honest with you. It's made of this weird PVC material, and it's not as good as my usual battle mats, but whatever. What are you going to do? The Eschers have deployed over at this end of the table. They have split into 2 groups. This one's led by Sarge. She's got Tank and Stalker with her. And this group over here is led by Blue, the champion. And she's got Red, her sister, and Screamer. I've put little ready tokens next to them, because Necromunda is a game of alternate activations. It's not like in 40k where it's I go, you go. You don't move your entire gang, shoot with your entire gang, charge with your entire gang, and then hand over to your opponent. It's alternate activations. So one ganger from one side does their thing, then another one from the other side does their thing, and you go backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Which is going to make filming this a bit of a challenge, because I'm not used to doing it with this kind of format. We'll see how we get on. So I put little ready tokens down next to them, as I said, to help me remember which ones have actually activated this turn and which ones haven't. Additionally, there's some little tokens down here. I keep getting a low battery warning that's popping up in my Stupid faces. This camera was supposed to be charged, but again, the curse of the terrible iPhone cable strikes again, and it didn't actually charge for the 2 hours it was plugged in, because it became disconnected by like 1 millimeter. Anyway, these tokens on the walls, they represent air vents that you can crawl through to get to the other side, or if anyone's stupid enough to stand next to one, you can shoot at them through the vent onto the other side as well, which means that it can be risky actually using the vents for that reason, essentially, because in Necromunda, essentially, everybody gets 2 actions in their activation. It's a bit like playing XCOM on the computer. Everybody gets to do 2 things in their activation. 2 actions, they get 2 action points, effectively, that they can spend on a variety of things they can do, and crawling through vents is one that requires you to spend both your action points to do. So you got to get up to a vent, then stand there for a minute, and then spend your 2 action points to crawl through it in your next turn. So if you're standing like an idiot next to a vent, and someone runs up the other side of it and shoots you through it, that can be very bad. So, the Goliaths over here, they have set up in a similar kind of fashion, actually. They split into 2 groups. Bonk, Chuckles, and Gaz over on this left side, on one side of this vent. And on the other side, we have Butcher, Thud, and Stripes, making their way up towards the centre via different corridors, perhaps. They split up before they got here. Both gangs did. So, that's the deployment, nice and simple. Yeah, now it's basically just going to be a case of rolling off to see who gets to activate first for turn 1. So here we go. Black dice for the Goliaths, yellow dice for the Eschers. It's a tie. Roll it again. And knock over all the crates and things as you bloody do it, you clumsy oaf. Right. Okay, Goliaths are going to activate first. Alright, the first Goliath that's going to activate... God, yeah, that is such a shiny table. I really hate that. I don't know if I'm going to use this mat again going forwards, honestly. I might get a different one. Anyway, first Goliath to activate is going to be Bonk, the leader. Now, the thing about leaders and champions in Necromunda is they can do what's called a group activation. Basically, a leader, like Bonk, can pick 2 gangers that are next to him, and they all get to activate at the same time. So that's basically exactly what's going to happen. So I'll take away all 3 of these ready counters, and all 3 of them are going to activate now. So nice and simple, all 3 of them did a double move. Moving costs you 1 of your 2 actions every turn, which means you can essentially do a double move if you want to. Now, Goliaths normally move 4 inches because they're very slow, but in this case they all moved 8 inches. Gaz has managed to scramble up on top of this massive cargo crate, because he's hoping that maybe he can climb up onto the top of this building and get a nice vantage point with that stub cannon of his. Or at least, now I think about it, I don't think a stub cannon has a particularly brilliant range, but at least he's got the high ground for now. It's got to count for something. Bonk and Chuckles, on the other hand, have just moved up here, poking around this corner, down at this doorway where the Eschers are inevitably going to come through later. Now, I should mention at this point, facing is a thing in Necromunda. It matters which direction your model is facing, because they can be snuck up on, and certain things like what's the armor these guys have called? Furnace plates. These guys' armor is called furnace plates, and basically it's a 6-up armor save. But if you shoot at them or attack them from the front, they get a 5-up save instead, because the armor's thicker at the front. So the way I generally tend to do it is I basically go by what direction the model's head is facing to determine which is forward. And then you have viewing arcs as well, which you use these little tokens for if you really need to, but they can see 90 degrees in front of them, a bit like that. You see? So yeah, vision arcs and your facing are important in Necromunda. That's worth mentioning. Right, Escher's turn. Alright, same deal over here on the Escher side, basically. Sarge did a group activation, and she, Stalker, and Tank have all moved up to this door, doing a double move. So next turn, they'll be able to open that door and shoot at anything on the other side and move through, etc., because opening or closing a door is a single action. Right, back to the Goliaths. Another group activation. This time it was Butcher, one of the Goliath champions. Now, champions, when they do a group activation, only 1 other ganger can activate with them instead of 2 like a leader. So in this case, Stripes and Butcher have both done a double move down this corridor, leaving unfortunate Thud behind, still tying his shoelaces. And that's all there is to say. They did a double move, they've moved 8 inches. Once again, kind of mirrored over here. As you can see, blue and red, the twins, they've run up that way, leaving Screamer behind by herself. And to save you some trouble, I've now skipped ahead and done the rest of the turn. Screamer has moved up with the others. Thud has moved up with his 2 mates as well. We reach the end of turn 1, but basically nothing has happened. That's pretty standard in a game of Necromunda, especially when you've got a big table and 2 very small gangs. Now we roll off to see who has priority, i.e. who gets to go first for turn 2. Same deal again. The Eschers win it this time with a 6 to the Goliath's 5, so the Eschers will activate first. And it might actually start to get a little bit spicy now. We'll see. So to start off turn 2, Sarge is doing a group activation again. First thing that's going to happen is Stalker, she's going to go first. She is going to open this door for 1 action. Oh, if I can extricate it, there we go. Open the door, and then she's going to move 5 inches over this way, like so. After that, Tank is going to activate, and I think she is going to... She's going to double move straight ahead, up next to these pipes, and so is Sarge right behind her. That's it. Not going to be any shooting, because none of them... I had a look, and none of them could actually really see Bonk over here. They couldn't see Gaz either. They just couldn't get a decent line of sight on them at all. And, you know, line of sight's important in Necromunda as well, because it determines like how hard you are to hit, because that's basically how the cover system works in this game. It works based on how much of the enemy model you can actually see. And in this case, they couldn't see basically anything except for the sticky outy bit of his hammer. And the rulebook pretty much specifically says, like, if you can just see a sticky outy bit of a weapon on an enemy model, that doesn't count, you silly fool. So, yeah, no cheesy shenanigans there. Right, it's Goliath's turn to activate now. And I decided to go with Gaz. He has moved along over here, and then he's scrambled up here onto this, the top level of this building. He can't see anything from up there, I don't think. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure he can't see anything and nothing can see him right now. But in his following turn, he might be able to shuffle over and get some shots down at those Eschers. We'll see. Now then, it's going to go back to the Eschers now, and we're going to go over to Blue and Company, over behind this building here. Another group activation. The sisters Blue and Red have clambered up onto this platform. This overhang, technically that's what it's called. They actually have rules for them, overhangs. There's a certain distance you're allowed to jump up from the ground to get onto one. Anyway, they've jumped up onto the overhang, and they're hiding around the corner of the ruined building at the moment, waiting for the Goliaths to come a bit closer, leaving Screamer down here standing in the middle of this chamber. So now back over to the Goliaths, and let's see. Bonk and Chuckles have gone next, doing a group activation. Chuckles has done a double move because his rivet cannon only has a 9-inch range on it, so he wasn't going to be able to get in range to fire at anyone with it, so he's going to get a bit closer. So he's done a double move of 8 inches. Bonk has moved 4 inches, and now he's actually going to shoot at one of these Eschers with his combi plasma pistol thing. He's going to use the plasma half of it, I think. Alright, he's going to level his combi plasma directly at Tank at the front there, and he's going to shoot it, and he hits on a 3. However, because there's a lot of cover in the way in the form of this giant pipe, he can't actually see very much of Tank at the moment. He can probably just see a head and not much else. And the way it works is if you can see half the enemy model, they are in partial cover. If you can see less than half of them, they're in heavy cover. And if they're in heavy cover, like Tank is right now, from his perspective of shooting, she's a -2 to be shot at. So he's actually only going to hit on a 5+ right now. Here he goes. He misses on a 4. The other thing you've got to do when you fire a gun in this game is you roll an ammo dice. Okay, so that's fine. It's just 1 bullet hole. That's fine. The way it works, essentially, is if he'd rolled that with the little ammo symbol on it, then he would have had to take an ammo check, because his gun has either jammed or it's run out of ammo or something like that. The number of holes are basically irrelevant for his plasma gun, but that's for when you fire a rapid fire weapon, and the number of holes indicates the number of hits you get. But as I said, with his plasma pistol thing, it's not rapid fire, so the number of holes don't matter. It only matters if the only thing that matters on the ammo dice is the ammo symbol itself. Right. Eschers Screamer, she decided not to follow the two twins. She's instead run over to this door because she plans to open that door momentarily and then run away basically and try and get some nice long distance shots with her lasgun down this corridor here and try and harass the Goliaths coming down the hall there. Give them some different options to shoot and charge after, really, because the two of these guys are melee weapons only, and then you've got Thud with his shotgun. So the Eschers, if they want to be successful, basically they need to keep their distance because the Goliaths will tear him a new one if they get into close combat with them. So they want to be nice and skittish, run away, hit and run attacks, all that kind of good stuff, keeping them at range in most circumstances anyway. The Eschers do have Blue and they do have Sarge, who are both quite good in close combat, but they need to be able to fight first. If they end up going second in a fight, they're dead meat, most likely. Anyway, go over to the Goliaths now. It's going to be another group activation. Butcher and Stripes are basically just going to go 8 inches down the corridor here, and then the only one who still needs to activate will be Thud, and I think he's probably going to follow them. There we go. Butcher and Stripes have actually seen the other Escher gangers as they've moved into this gap here through the ruined building, and they've actually headed off a couple of inches in their direction, whereas Thud is hanging back and watching the door here for the moment, with Screamer still waiting on the other side of it. And that concludes the turn. So, as before, we do a roll-off. There's other things that happen at the end of the turn normally, but we haven't had any shooting actually start just yet. Well, there was technically a little bit of shooting, but hey. There's been no casualties yet, so none of the interesting stuff at the end of the turn is relevant right now. So, this time it's going to be the Eschers going first again. Okay. Our first activation for the Eschers is going to be a group one from Sarge, Stalker, and Tank. It was a difficult choice, actually, in some ways, because they had options, basically. The way things have worked out, basically, over here on this side, I can't get any closer right now because of the charger cable for the camera. There we go. On this side, you've got Screamer and Thud facing off against each other on each side of a door, and who goes first gets to move over and open the door, be able to shoot the other one in the face. On the other hand, over here in the middle, if the Eschers don't go first here, they stand a good chance of being charged by these guys, or having this lot come at them shooting and stuff like that. So the Eschers wasn't really intentional on my part, but their positioning is not very good right now. So I'm going to have to go with these guys first. And what's going to happen is you have to do these guys one at a time, although they're all activating simultaneously. First thing we're going to do, I think, after some thinking, is we're going to move Tank. She's going to move for one activation. I think she's going to go... good question, actually, now I think about it. What's she going to do? I think she's going to go this way. Yeah, she's going to move this way. 5 inches. Behind this crate. And then she's going to... just realised I should not have done that. In Necromunda, here's the thing. You're not allowed to pre-measure, unlike in 40k. You can't say to your opponent, alright, I'm going to get my measuring tape out and just measure up my options here. You're actually not allowed to do that in Necromunda. You're supposed to guess it before you actually do it. Anyway, sorry, I got cut off by the low battery. I don't even remember what I was saying. I just had a small cursing session with the camera and its terrible, 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 terrible charging cable that keeps coming unplugged constantly, which is why the clip just ended, because it became unplugged anyway. Yeah, right, so she's moved there 5 inches, and then she's going to shoot now with her chem thrower. Now, the way this works is you just basically place down the template over her head, and you try and get as many baddies under it as possible. In this case, she's going to hit Stripes, and she's going to hit Butcher with the gas from the chem thrower. Now, the way this works is basically she just has to roll equal to or beat their toughness with this. It's a nastier weapon than Cannon Thrower, because normally firing over a bunch of boxes like that, if she was firing a regular flamer, the Goliath would get some benefits from being in cover and stuff like that. But because this is gas, it just automatically hits them, and on a 4+, it'll automatically do an injury to them. You skip the wounding process and everything. You just go straight to injuries. So that's what she's going to do. So she needs to roll a 4+ for Stripes and for Butcher. So we're going to roll for Butcher first, needing a 4+, or a natural 6 works. Yep, 4+. So Butcher is just straight up injured. So now we roll her an injury dice to see what happens. And Butcher has been critically injured. He's been critically wounded. So now what we do with him is we lie him face down. And the only thing he can do in his activation now is crawl 3 inches. Actually, I don't think it's even that with Goliath. I think he can crawl 2 inches. That's it. That's the only thing he can do. He's seriously injured. He might recover at the end of the turn. We'll find out. But he's gone down. The gas got him. Actually, no. Hold on. It didn't. Because Butcher is wearing a respirator, I just remembered. There you go. Rules and things. He's actually wearing a respirator. Which means that, what's her face? Tank would have needed a natural 6 to bring him down then. If I'd remembered the respirator thing, I might have had her shoot at these two instead. But never mind. Decision's been made now. In the chaos of the ongoing skirmish, she perhaps just didn't notice that one of them was wearing a respirator and just sprayed the gas over there anyway. Alright, so Butcher's just fine. Stripes, on the other hand, doesn't have a respirator. So 4+. Again, we get another 4. Now, Stripes is going to be injured somehow. He's also critically injured. Well, also. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. He's critically injured, so he'll only be crawling around on the floor for the foreseeable future, unless he recovers later. Okay, so she got one of them with the gas. And that's the end of her activation now, because remember, this was a group activation, so now we've got to do the other two. And I think, what do we want to do next? I need to get I really need to get down there and have a look at line of sight and stuff. It's at this point that I'm wandering around the table looking at angles, and I realise, oh yeah, I forgot to use Stealthy Advance at the start of the game. Whoops. I considered swapping that out for a different one in the interests of fairness or whatever, but then I just decided, you know what, I forgot it. I've got to learn to remember it somehow, so I'm just going to let it stand. Anyway, this is what we've done. Stalker's going next. She's hopped up onto the building here, basically to ensure that nobody's really going to be able to charge her this turn. And she kind of has a choice now. She can either shoot something with a las gun, like Butcher down there, or she could try and throw a choke gas grenade over here and maybe save Screamer's bacon over there if she can use it to take out, what's her name? Thud. So, choices. I think the problem is if we don't take out Butcher, he's probably going to charge Tank next turn and then no more Tank, really. However, we still have Sarge to go, and she might be able to bring down Butcher with her bolt gun. So, yeah, don't know. There's no point in throwing the choke gas grenade at Butcher, because he's got a respirator, and I should have remembered that earlier. So, yeah. You know what? On reflection, I think what I'm going to do is just shoot the las gun at him. Because the choke gas grenade, it'll be a 4+ to hit, and if it doesn't hit, it'll scatter somewhere. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to go for reliability this time. She's going to level a las gun down there, try and shoot Butcher. Because she's at short range, and short range for a las gun is within 18 inches. It's one of the nice things about las guns. They get a short range accuracy bonus from quite a distance away. They're very accurate weapons. She gets a +1 to hit, so she'll actually hit on 3s. Normally, regular gangers hit on 4s. She's hitting on 3s in this particular instance. But she misses. She rolls a 1 and an ammo check to boot. Now, lasguns, they roll their ammo checks on a 2+, so she's fine. Not out of ammo just yet. But that was basically very, very unfortunate. Alright, finally, Sarge, she has moved this way, over into the building there, to get a good shot at Butcher with her bolt gun. Now, there's a couple of things I should mention right now, actually. The first thing is that if you want to shoot at someone in Necromunda who's not the closest, easiest target, you have to take what's called a cool check. Each model in the game has a cool stat, and you have to do a cool check to see if you pass it. They also have willpower and I think intelligence as well. But cool check is what you use in that case. It's basically a measure of the gang's ability to keep calm under pressure. So if I'd wanted to throw that gas grenade at Thud earlier, I would have had to do a cool check to actually pass that in order to be able to do it, I think. The other thing is I forgot you have to do a nerve test when a friendly ganger within 3 inches of you goes down seriously injured or is just straight out knocked out of action. So actually, Butcher and Thud both need to take a cool check. So how you do that is you roll 2d6, and then you have to beat the cool check thing. It's like ballistic skill, weapon skill. It's a number plus. Now Goliaths are a bit too stupid and or brave to know when to run away, so they have a really low cool check stat, which is good. So they basically they pass cool checks on a 5+. I think maybe a 4+ in Butcher's case. We'll see. But anyway, let's do Butcher first. On a 5, he'll be fine, and Thud on a 7, he'll also be fine. So they're not bothered at all that Stripes has just gone down, choking from the gas. They don't give a damn. They're fine. Right. So now it's going to be Sarge shooting her bolt gun at Butcher. Now it's a rapid fire weapon, so the number of bullet holes on the shot dice on the ammo dice will be relevant. She's at short range with it, so gets +1 to hit. So she'll be hitting on a 2+. He's not obscured by cover or anything either, so she hits on a 2+. Only gets 1 hit though with the bolt gun. So not great, not terrible, essentially. So she's got a wound on a 4+ now is the problem, because she's the bolt gun strength 4, but Goliath's a toughness 4. They're real meaty beasts. So got a wound on a 4+. She does wound Butcher on a 4+, right. Bolt guns, I believe, are AP -1. Oops. Glancing over my shoulder at the stats. Please ignore me doing that. Let's see. Combi weapon, bolt gun. Yeah, AP -1. Now, because she's shooting at the front of him, the question is actually, is she in his 90-degree vision arc at the front? That's really close, honestly. We'll roll the dice. On a 4+, she is. No, okay, so she's flanking him officially, which means he gets no save. If she was shooting at him from the front with his furnace plates, he'd get a 6-up save. But he doesn't. So now we just go straight to rolling an injury dice. Now, bolt gun does 2 damage a pop, and I believe as a champion, Butcher has 2 wounds. So he goes down to 0 wounds, and then we roll a single injury dice for him. So he's critically wounded, for real this time. Okay, critically wounded, nose down, face first. And again, sorry, there goes the camera again. I really apologise. I should learn not to try and film battle reports with 2% battery remaining. Anyway, he goes down face first. He can't do anything but crawl now, and it basically means that the tank is safe from getting charged and chopped to bits by a man with a big axe, for the moment anyway. Okay, I believe that does mean Thud needs to take another cool check. A nerve test, rather, that's what it's called, and he passes it with flying colours. He rolls a 10. He doesn't give a damn. Goliaths are just too simple to really be bothered by this stuff. Eschers, on the other hand, they have to roll a 7+ to pass cool checks. Eschers run away like at the first sign of trouble. Because you've got to remember, folks, this isn't the battlefields of the 41st millennium. These aren't brave, noble space marines or fearless Necrons or even brave Imperial Guardsmen. These are just selfish underhive gangers. They're effectively civilians, quite militant and angry and, aggressive civilians, but they're still civilians. They have a keen sense of self-preservation, is what I was going to say before I got cut off again. Right. Before we go to the next activation, because that's that activation done now, before we go to the first Goliath activation of the turn, already 2 of them are on the floor, this is going great for them. Before we go to the next activation, I'm just going to plug the camera in and leave it alone for a while and get some battery recharge so this doesn't keep happening. Right, we're back with a partially charged battery. And what's going to happen now is we're going to activate Thud. Thud has moved over here behind this barricade to shoot over it. And he's sticking close to his comrades there because he might be able to assist them in getting back on their feet at the end of the turn, assuming he's still alive. Well, not alive, but... Well, I mean, he could be taken out of action. But out of action in this game doesn't necessarily mean dead. In a campaign, for example, when you go out of action in a battle, you roll afterwards on the injury table to see what actually happens to you. And you can die, but more likely you're just going to be injured and have some sort of debuff to your stats. Anyway, he's going to fire his shotgun, his combat shotgun, in salvo mode at... trying to get angle here. He's going to fire it at Sarge, the Escher gang leader. She's not the closest target to him, but she is the easiest. Apparently this terrible app stops the recording if the charger cable becomes unplugged, even if you're not on low battery. Brilliant. Brilliant stuff. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so he can fire at her without taking a cool check because she's the easiest target, if not the closest. So, it's a rapid fire weapon, the salvo fire mode. It has a 12-inch range, so he's in range. He's not within short range, though, so he'll hit him at 4+. He misses. He misses, and he has to take an ammo check. It's a 4+ for the shotgun. He fails it. So the shotgun, not only has he missed, but his combat shotgun is now out of ammo. And so in his next turn, he'll need to spend one action on trying to reload it. Things are not going terrifically well for the Goliaths, are they? This is the crazy thing about Necromunda, really. You can look at a situation and think, well, one side clearly has the advantage here, and then a few dice rolls later, and the situation has changed completely. Now, one thing did occur to me in the downtime back there was that I could have used Unstoppable Behemoth to stop Butcher from going down. That might have been a good idea had I remembered it, but I didn't remember it, and so therefore it wasn't used. We might have a chance to use it again later. We'll see. Right, Eschers now. And the Eschers are going to do the following. Very simple, really. We're going to activate Screamer. She's going to open the door. Seems like I can extricate it. There we go. She's going to open the door, and she's going to shoot Thud. And Thud, at this point, really, he couldn't move to this door and opened it, I realised. Well, he could move to it and open it, but then he wouldn't be able to shoot, because that's one action each, you see. So that's why he decided to go this way and try and shoot at the gang leader of the Eschers. Now he's basically just got to hope that Screamer doesn't get a lucky roll here. So here we go. She's going to fire a las gun. She'll get +1 to hit with this because short range. Hitting on 3+. She misses though. Lucky bugger, Thud. Right. Back to the Goliaths now, and we have a choice. I could either, I could activate these two down here, but there's really no point. We'll save them for last as they slowly try and crawl away from the Eschers. We have a choice here now of either activating Gaz or we could activate Chuckles and Bonk. Now, there is no way Bonk can do a charge this turn. When you do a charge move, you basically roll a d3 and you add that number of inches to your standard move, and that's how far you can charge. And at the moment, there's no way he can charge anybody. They're all too far away. The Eschers have backed off a bit, so that very specifically he can't get to them. So I could activate him and have Chuckles shoot at somebody, or I could activate Gaz up there. At this point, all the Eschers except for blue and red have gone, and blue and red aren't in much of a position to contribute at the moment. I think the best they can do probably is try and take some more shots at Thud. So, actually, I don't know, having said that, they could climb over this wall. That's totally a thing they could do if they wanted to. So, I tell you what, we'll leave Gaz where he is for now, and we'll activate these two. Alright, group activation, Bonk's going first. He's moved up to the pipe. He's going to fire his plasma at Tank, I think. Yeah, he has a pretty good shot at her. I don't think she's in partial cover from that angle, so he's just going to try and shoot at Tank. He could try and shoot Sarge, or indeed Stalker, but a cool check would be required, I think. So he's going to shoot at Tank with his plasma gun. He hits. That's bad news for Tank. Okay, he's going to wound on a 3, but he fails and wounds on a 2. Plasma guns are definitely strength 5, right? Plasma pistols, anyway. Looking at the stats again. They are indeed strength 5, not strength 6, so he wouldn't wound on a 2. Alright, so he fails to wound. However, and this is oddly enough the first time it's actually come up in this game, because these two here went straight to being seriously wounded, she's now pinned. So you lie down like that, facing upwards, instead of facing downwards, to indicate that she's been pinned. So whenever anyone gets shot at and the enemy gets a hit, in Necromunda, you're pinned. You're knocked prone, like that, and it costs you an action to get back up again off the floor. So, yeah, in the Eschers next turn, tank will only be able to get up and shoot, or get up and move. It won't be able to move and shoot, which is helpful for the Goliaths. So, nice work there. Next, Chuckles. He's going to move up to the pipe, and he's going to fire with his. With his. What's it called? The rivet cannon. That's the one. Now the rivet cannon has a 9-inch range. And the end of my tape measure's gone floppy. How embarrassing. So, yeah, I wasn't sure if he was going to be in range to shoot at tank, but he is. So he's going to fire in rapid fire mode at tank. Go on, Chuckles. He does hit, but he also does need to take an ammo check. So ammo check is a 1. Okay, it's failed. So I've got some ammo tokens around here. I really need to actually make use of the bloody things. Here's one. Here we go. So he's going to need to reload his rivet cannon next turn. But he got a hit. Can he wound her? He can't on a 1. All right. So she remains pinned. Right. Let me go and give Thud an ammo marker as well, an ammo token. And then we will activate Blue and Red. The twins have both done a double move. Red hopped over the wall and ran over to the edge here, and Blue carried on running around on the overhang to get to the edge there. Basically, it allows Red to be able to shoot at something next turn, and Blue might be able to drop down from this overhang and charge someone, which would be really good. Potentially in the next turn, she could charge Thud, or if these two are on the ground still, she could maybe do a coup de grace on one of them, which is if you engage a downed enemy like that in close combat, you get to curb stomp them and finish them off, and they're just taken straight out of action immediately, because melee combat in this game is very, very brutal indeed. It's incredibly decisive. It's why the Goliaths are so bloody good at it. They tend to charge in, successfully make their attacks, down the enemy, and then coup de grace them immediately, take them straight out of action. No hanging around, no multiple rounds of combat, no reaction attacks. They just tend to just stomp immediately and then move on, which is why the Eschers really don't want to get too close to them. Although, I think perhaps Blue is getting a bit big for her britches right now. She reckons she could take out one of them with a stiletto sword, perhaps, or at least get a really nice shot with the shotgun down at them. We'll see. But with two of the Goliaths downed with serious injuries right there, I think she's feeling confident. Right, this brings us back to the Goliaths, and what we're going to do is we're going to activate Gaz. He's going to climb up over this wall onto these boxes here, and he's going to shoot down at Red, I think? I think she's his closest target, easiest target from where he's standing, so I think he's going to shoot at Red. I need to check if he's actually in range, though. Again, you can't pre-measure this. I have to just guess, and if I guess wrong, then the shot is automatically missed. Okay, I've measured it up, and he is in range. He's actually in short range, technically, but stub cannons are so inaccurate that they don't get a short-range accuracy bonus, apparently. So, just a standard hit roll of 4+. He does hit. Doesn't have to take an ammo check. Now, this weapon has knockback, so since she's been hit by it, she actually moves 1 inch away from the direction of the shot. So she's going to move over that way, and she's going to hit the wall, which means that this attack will do an extra point of damage. If you get knocked back into an obstacle, the attack that's hitting you does an extra point of damage. She's also, obviously, pinned in the process. If she was knocked back the other way, there would have been a chance that she would fall over the edge and take falling damage upon hitting the ground at the bottom, which is even better. but she was knocked back in that direction because that's where the shot came from. So, right, he just has to wound now on a 3+, and he does. He does. Now, I don't think this is any AP. Looking over my shoulder at the stub cannon stats right now. No armor piercing. I'll eventually remember all of these weapon stats, but for now I have to keep checking every time I use them. Yeah, so she does get a 6-up save from her flak armor at least, but she fails. So she is injured. In fact, she takes. This attack is doing 2 damage to her because of the knockback into the wall. So essentially what happens is, from the first point of damage, she goes down to 0 wounds, and then the damage kind of carries over. And what essentially happens is she's now on -1 wounds instead of just 0, which means that you roll 2 injury dice instead of just 1. Okay, so she's seriously injured, and she's taken a flesh wound. So what we do is, well, we'll flip red over to show that she is seriously injured. Oh, god damn it. Trying to do this through a camera screen is not easy. Right, she's seriously injured, and she's also taken a flesh wound, so I'll give her a little flesh wound token. What a flesh wound does is, it doesn't immediately do anything, but it does lower her toughness by 1 point. So she's not dead, but she is seriously injured, so she's downed, and also she's taken a flesh wound, so she's -1 toughness. She's actually on toughness 2 now as a result of that. And as you can imagine, if you're a toughness 3 character, it means you can take 3 flesh wounds maximum, because it lowers your toughness by a point each time. Once your toughness gets to 0, you're automatically done. You're dead. So she can only take another couple of flesh wounds before she cops it. Right. And also, it'll be easier for other weapons to wound her now, because she's only toughness 2 in addition to that. So it's a handy old thing to have, a flesh wound. Speaking from the enemy's perspective, anyway. Right. I believe that's everybody has gone now, except for the 2 Goliaths on the ground over there. So what they're going to do is they're going to crawl a couple of inches back this way, one after the other. Get rid of the little activation tokens. This is difficult. Ugh. Okay, and then we get to the end of the turn. So what we now have happen is we make recovery rolls for these fighters that are all downed and injured and what have you. Actually, no, we don't. We don't do that. First, we do a bottle test. What is a bottle test, you ask? Well, basically, you roll to see if the gang bottles out. If they decide, right, you know what, we've taken enough casualties, let's leg it. So, the way that works is you roll 1d6. It's a bit like taking a morale test in 40k, actually. You roll 1d6 and you add the number of out of action or seriously injured fighters to it. And if it exceeds the number of gangers you had to start with, then you fail the bottle test. So, for the Goliaths, they roll 3, 4, 5 injured dudes. They actually passed the bottle test because they started with 6 guys. So they're okay for now. The Eschers, they have 1 ganger down. No, you're fine. You're just pinned. You, on the other hand, are not. You're seriously injured. So they roll a dice and add 1. So 3, 4. Okay, so neither of the gangs are bottling out just yet. Next, we do recovery rolls. So let's do red first on the Eschers side. We roll a wound dice, essentially, and we apply the result. So she's seriously injured. So basically she just remains seriously injured. So she's still on the floor rather than around in agony. Now we'll roll for the Goliath. Let's see. Let's go Butcher. Butcher is just flesh wounded. So what happens now, essentially, is we take a flesh wound, we give Butcher a flesh wound token, and then we flip him over. So he's now only pinned. He's not seriously injured anymore. He's just pinned and has a flesh wound. So he's down at toughness 3, and he's pinned. Now for Stripes. Stripes remains seriously injured, so his Stripes is still rolling around on the floor. Actually, I forgot about this. It doesn't matter in Butcher's case, because the flesh wound is the best result you can get on that. But in Stripe's case, he does have Thud next to him to assist him. And when you have assistance like that from nearby gang, you actually roll 2 dice and you pick the best results. So let's roll the second one. The second one's a flesh wound, so we'll actually pick the flesh wound. So we'll give Stripes a flesh wound and flip him over. So he's only pinned. Okay. So that's good news for the Goliaths. Okay. The final part of the end phase would be to check if any broken fighters that are running away rally. We don't have any broken fighters currently running away, so that's fine. I'm just looking down here at red, and I'm thinking that actually, now I think about it, blue probably should have had to take a cool check then. So let's do that. Yeah, she's fine. Okay, blue passed a cool check, so nothing changes. That's good. Phew. I always forget the nerve tests. That's what that's called. I always constantly forget the nerve tests. It's a difficult thing to remember for me for some reason. I'm sure there's loads of other stuff I'm forgetting. If there's obviously any Necromunda veterans what happen to be watching this, please tell me the stuff I get wrong so I can learn it for next time. But it's a lot to take in this game. It's quite a complex game, and the rules for it are not necessarily written in the clearest way either. Which is why I've played a bunch of practice games of this off camera before doing this, before attempting this video. So, anyway, right, that's the turn over. Now we're going to turn 3, rolling off again. Now the Eschers went first, so if there is a tie, the Goliath will win it. There isn't. The Eschers are going first again. Okay, right, let's give everybody active fighter markers and we'll get started. Okay, Sarge is doing another group activation, so her, Stalker and Tank are all activating at the same time. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have Stalker make one action by moving around here into this little blast shieldy thing here, and then I'm going to say basically that because it's got a little letterbox shooting slit through the front, I'm going to say that she can shoot through that up at Gaz with her lasgun. So that's what she's going to do. I'm going to grab an ammo dice and there we go. She's going to shoot up at Gaz, and from where she's standing, he's partially obscured, so this will be -1 to hit, although she's in short range, so it will cancel it out. So hitting on a 4+, she misses. Brilliant. Well done, Stalker. Well done. Next up, we're going to have Tank clamber to her feet for one action. And I think we're going to have her... She's got 2 options now. She could gas those guys with the cam thrower, or she could try and gas these 2. I think these 2 are probably the more pressing concern right now. I would say, especially Bonk. He might be in cheeky charge range, especially with his special unstoppable charge, brutal charge, gang tactics card, whatever. Although technically, I suppose the Eschers aren't supposed to know that he's got that, but hey. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I think she's going to try and gas these 2. So, let's get the old template out. Let's see if it works. Okay, yeah, she is going to catch both of them with it. So, what we got to do is try and win them on a 4+. Now, neither of them have respirators, Chuckles or Bonk. So, 4+ on Bonk. She doesn't injure him. 4+ on Chuckles. She does injure him. So Chuckles has to make an immediate injury roll, and he just takes a flesh wound. No more, no less. So Chuckles remains standing, because I don't think gas weapons pin you, unlike normal weapons. So he remains standing, coughing and spluttering a bit, takes a flesh wound down to toughness 3, but he's otherwise fine. Okay, next up, and finally, is going to be Sarge in there. And she is actually going to attempt to charge Butcher, who is lying down on the ground pinned over there. Bit of a risky charge, this. Obviously, I can't pre-measure it to find out whether or not I'll be able to do it. Just got to kind of guesstimate it and hope for the best. Escher's a bit quicker than Goliath, so I have a 5-inch move, plus the D3 for a charge. So D3. So, okay, it's the big 3. So she has an 8-inch charge. And you move her, and even if she doesn't quite get there, you still keep the movement. It's not like in 40k where you fail the charge and stay where you are. She'll still move 8 inches, but she might not necessarily get into combat. Okay, she did in fact make the charge, and I think if you charge someone who's pinned, they automatically hop up to their feet. Correct me if I'm wrong, rules knowledgeable people, but I think that's how it works in Necromunda. You just, it's been a while since I read that bit of the rules. I can't be asked to go looking it up now, so I think if you're charged and you're pinned, you just get to your feet automatically. So she has 3 attacks because she's a leader, a gang leader, and she'll hit on 3s. She hits all 3 times. And now a power sword gives you +1 strength, which makes his strength 4. He has a flesh wound, so he's actually only toughness 3 right now, so she'll wound him on 3s as well. Okay, so she wounds him twice, and this is AP -2, I think. Glancing over my shoulder again. Power sword, AP -2, it is indeed. So he gets no save, and it's 1 damage each. So 2 more injury rolls for Butcher to take there as this Escher gang leader comes hacking and slashing away at him with a power sword. So he's seriously injured and takes another flesh wound. So he's down to toughness 2 now, and he's seriously injured again. The thing is, though, as I was reaching over to grab the tokens, I realised, it doesn't matter. If you make a charge move, you attack an enemy, and you successfully seriously injure them, you get to make a free coup de grace, which basically means she stomps on Butcher's head with her high-heeled boots, and he's immediately out of action. So we have our first proper casualty of the game. He's done. She gets to do that, or she can consolidate 3 inches. So obviously in this case, she's chosen to stomp on Butcher's head and take him out of action. Alright, folks. Well, that was brutal. Sweet revenge as well for Sarge in the middle there, because in a previous game I played with these 2 gangs, Butcher actually just completely one-shotted her. In exactly the same fashion, in fact, actually. In a previous encounter, those 2 met and Butcher came out on top. But this time, she's hacked him to pieces. So, good for her. If this was a campaign, that would be even cooler. But it wasn't as part of a campaign, it was just a previous skirmish I played. Anyway, that's the Escher activation done. Going to go to the Goliaths now, and we're going to activate... Oh, choices. I think the temptation is to go straight for these 2 and do cool stuff like try and charge these guys and what have you. But since these guys have already activated and done their stuff, there's no point. What we need to do, actually, really, is go over here, and I think we need to activate Thud. So, Thud finds himself in a rather interesting position, because right now, he's got an Escher gang leader over there, right in front of him. He's got an Escher champion on an overhang about to jump down on his head up there. He's got an Escher ganger over here with a lasgun pointed at him, and all he's got is a combat shotgun that goes click, click, click whenever you pull the trigger, and some grenades. So I think what's going to happen is... he's going to throw a grenade. Question is he going to move before doing it, or is he going to take an extra action to aim? Because when you fire a weapon, use a ranged weapon in Necromunda, you can, for 1 action, one of your 2 actions in a turn, you can aim, which gives you +1 to hit with it. So normally he'd hit on a 4+. So, alternatively, he could just stand there, try and reload his combat shotgun, and then fire it at someone, but with a 4+ roll to reload it. There's only a 50-50 chance. I think he'd be better off throwing one of his mini grenades. He's got smoke, he's got crack, and he's got frag. I think he's probably going to go for frag, because frag gives you a nice, lovely blast marker, and he could probably try and hit more than 1 ganger with it. So, it's going to be danger close, though, whatever he does. So I think he's going to do that. He's going to... I think he's going to move back this way. I just knocked something over. Yeah, I knocked a bit of wall over with my fat belly. He's going to move back this way, past Stripes, who's writhing around on the floor. and then he's going to throw a grenade. And I think he's going to throw it up here. Try and land the grenade right at this spot here and see if he can catch blue and red. He get both the twins with 1 grenade if he's lucky. Alternatively, it could bounce back and explode in his face. We have no idea. I've now moved him. There's one other thing we need to do before we go any further, actually. That is, I forgot to do a nerve test for him after Butcher got murdered. So let's do that. Cool check. He passes that. Totally fine. And now we're going to try and throw this grenade. So you'll hit on a 4+, and essentially what he's going to do is, well, if you hit with a grenade, the blast marker goes exactly where you want it to. If you miss, it scatters. So we want the blast marker to go there. So it'll hit these 2. However, does he actually hit is the question. He does. So the blast marker stays exactly where it was. It doesn't go scattering off anywhere. The grenade didn't bounce. Incidentally, the distance you can throw a grenade is 3 times your strength in inches. He's strength 4, so he can actually throw a grenade 12 inches. Goliaths can throw grenades pretty far because they're strong. Anyway, so both of them are going to be hit by this grenade. Now with grenades, you immediately make an ammo check after you use them. And he's fine on a 6, so he's got plenty more grenades where that came from. If you fail it, that's it. No more grenades of that type for the rest of the game. So both of these have been hit. Let's do red first. This is going to be a strength 3 versus... She's got a flesh wound, so toughness 2. So this will wound her on a 3+. Doesn't wound red. Does the blast wound... Oh, also it is knockback. So she's going to get knocked back over that way like that. Towards the edge. And there's a chance she might fall down, actually. I believe she has to do an initiative test. Or does she fall down? I think you only fall if you are knocked prone, and then within an inch of the edge or whatever, within half an inch of an edge. She was already prone, so I don't think it actually applies in her case, but I could be wrong. Anyway, blue on the other hand is going to be in a spot of bother here because, well, oh, I'm having charger cable problems again, folks. Ugh, dear. God damn it. It's plugged in. It's plugged in, and yet it's still not actually charging. I hate this cable so much. Right, never mind bloody Eschers versus Goliaths. Dave versus the charger cable apparently is the greatest pair of arch enemies on this planet. Right. Okay. So when you get knocked back, you get knocked away from the middle of the blast marker. Now, I believe... the way it works when you get knocked back from blast markers, I think if you hit with a roll that's equal to or better than the target's toughness or strength, strength, they get knocked back by it. And since he rolled a 6, I think she's going to get knocked back from the center of the blast marker, which was there. So she's actually going to be knocked back off this overhang. So she goes prone because she's pinned officially, and then we roll an initiative test to see if she can stop herself from being thrown off the side. Escher's pass initiative test on a 3+. So she passes that, so she isn't knocked off the overhang. However, is she wounded by the grenade? No, she is not. Okay. She's just pinned, but she's not been wounded. The fact that she's pinned means she can't go charging anyone in her turn, which is good at least. It's good news for Thud. He's bought himself some time there, if nothing else. But yes, that's the full effect of the grenade as I understand it. Slightly complicated, but I think I got everything. Okay, right. Moving on then, back over to the Eschers. Right, we're going to activate blue. She's going to hop up for one action, get back on her feet, get rid of her activation marker, and she's going to wheel her shotgun around at Thud and see if she can try and get rid of him. Now, I think... she is in short range, so she'll get +1 to hit with this. However, right now, I'm pretty sure Stripes is the easier, closer target, so she needs to pass a cool check if she wants to shoot Thud. And she fails it. Now, I assume, I haven't read this section of the rules in a while either, but I assume if you fail that cool check, you just have to shoot the thing that's closest. So she's actually, instead, she's going to shoot her shotgun at Stripes, who's on the floor there. So she's going to fire a solid shell, a solid slug out of the shotgun. She could have gone with scatter shot and actually potentially hit both of them, but the chances of wounding a Goliath with scatter shot is incredibly low. You have to roll 6s to wound with it. It's crazy. So yeah, solid slug at Stripes, who is currently still pinned on the floor. So it is a hit. She'll wound Stripes on a 3+ because he's got a flesh wound, and she fails to wound him. So he was already pinned anyway, so nothing changes there. Yeah. She hit him with a solid slug, and him being a Goliath, he was just like, yeah, whatever. Alright, so Stripes activates next. He's clambered back up to his feet, probably feeling a little dazed and confused. There's definitely a lot of dents in those furnace plates of his. Now, he has a pair of melee weapons, but he also has frag grenades. Frag grenades are effectively his only ranged weapon. So what he's going to do is he's going to throw a frag grenade up at blue over there. Now, he'll have to pass a cool check to do this because Sarge is actually closer to him right now. He passes the cool check just fine. Throws the grenade up at blue. The grenade's going to land like this. Again, trying to catch both the gangers up there. Does he hit with it, though? He actually misses with it, and that's where things get fun. So now what we do is we roll a scatter dice and a regular dice. So the grenade scatters 2 inches in this direction. So effectively, it goes from being here to being here, and therefore the blast doesn't catch anyone because the grenade bounced and everyone's out of the blast radius. So unlucky there, mate, unlucky. Back to the Eschers, and the only one left they can activate is Screamer, standing down here by the door. So she is going to quite simply aim and shoot. I think, yeah, she's going to aim and shoot straight at Stripes with her las gun. So, yeah, here we go. Getting a +1 to hit from aiming. She's fine. No reload required either. Should wound him on a 4+ now with the las gun. It's strength 3 versus toughness 3 because he's got that flesh wound. She fails to wound him though. He does, unfortunately, however, become pinned again. Everybody's favourite bullet magnet today, apparently, Stripes. Anyway. Alright, next up is group activation time. And Bonk and Chuckles are going to activate. Chuckles, he's going to attempt to reload his weapon. First things first, he grab a dice. He's trying to reload his rivet cannon on a 4+. He does. So he successfully reloaded his rivet cannon, and now he's going to try and shoot tank with it. Let me grab an ammo dice. Eep. There we go. He definitely hits, and he hits twice to boot, so that's actually going to be 2 wound dice. Right, tank. You, my dear, you are pinned. Okay, so 2 wound dice. This is probably going to wound on a 3. If I might check if, yeah, no, that's fine. So this, let me see. I'm gonna have to check the stats for the rivet cannon. The rivet cannon is AP -1, damage 2. So tank gets absolutely no save whatsoever. And she's going to have to make 4 injury rolls. Great googly and moogly. It's the most I've ever had in a battle so far. She's out of action. Takes 3 serious injuries, and she is knocked straight out of action. So the Goliaths, and more specifically Chuckles, who is probably chuckling to himself right now, have claimed their first scalp as well. Now, here's the problem. Bonk wanted to charge tank. I had the brutal charge card ready and everything. That's no longer an option. So what are we going to do with Bonk is the question. I think he's going to climb over this pipe. So he'll take 2 inches to climb over the pipe. He can move another 2 this way. And I think he's going to just try and shoot Sarge in the back with his plasma gun. That seems like a good idea to me. Alright, because he's a gang leader, he hits on a 3+. He misses on a 2. He doesn't have to do an ammo check at least, but he has missed. Okay, all the Eschers have gone now, except for Red, I suppose. She can crawl back 3 inches this way. There we go. That brings us now to the last ganger available, which is Gaz. So let's activate him. Let's have him... Doesn't have particularly fantastic options right now, does he? Let's have him move this way, like that. And then he's going to shoot at blue, I think, from where he's standing. And she'll be in partial cover, so he'll only hit her on a 5+, but it's worth a go. No ammo check, though, so... He's no worse off than he was when he started. Okay, that brings us to the end of the turn. First things first, bottle tests, let's do bottle tests. We have, for the Eschers, 1 seriously injured and 1 out of action, so 6. That's fine, I think that equals the number of gangers they started with, doesn't beat it, so therefore they're fine, they passed their bottle check. Their bottle tests. The Goliaths, on the other hand, they roll a 1, they're fine. Cool, nobody's bottling out still, even though there's plenty of blood splatters all over the floor. where everyone's staying put. Next up, recovery tests. Well, test singular, really, actually. It's just going to be red over there. And she will get an assist on this from Stalker, so 2 dice, pick the one we like the best. Doesn't matter, in either case she remains seriously injured. Okay, there are no broken fighters to rally either, so now we go to turn 4, I think we're on now. And yeah, we need to roll for priority, and basically, like, a hell of a lot is going to be decided by who wins this priority roll right now. The Goliaths will win ties, so they've got that going for them, but here we go. Okay, the Goliaths roll a 2, the Eschers 1, the Goliaths will get the first activation in turn 4, which is a big deal for them. That might allow them to change the shape of the battlefield slightly. Basically, the main thing is this here, Sarge versus Bonk. This was essentially going to be a question of who gets to charge first, and it looks like it's going to be Bonk. Alright, Goliaths first group activation, and only group activation I think as well, is going to be Bonk and Chuckles. Bonk going first. He is going to use Brutal Charge, so he gets +2 movement, +1 attack, and his attacks gain knockback, and that gives him 6 inches of movement, which actually will get him straight in there. I just measured it before I started filming. So he gets straight in there to attack Sarge with his power hammer. Now, he's going to get 4 attacks. 4 with his power hammer. She's in trouble. I cannot begin to tell you how much trouble Sarge is in right now. So, hitting on 3s with the power hammer. He hits 3 times. He's going to wound her on probably 2s. Let me just check. Power hammer. Strength +1. Is it really strength +1? Good grief. Okay, he's gonna wound her on 3s then. 2 successful wounds. It is AP minus, she's only got a 6-up save anyway, so no saves for her. It is damage 2, so she goes straight down to 0 wounds from the first successful wound. However, wait, no, she has the parry skill. She has the parry skill. Arg! Let me check what parry does. Right, I checked. Because she's got parry, and because she's carrying a power sword, she can parry 2 enemy attacks, which basically means 2 of his successful hit rolls he has to re-roll. So, would you look at that? So that means he only got 1 successful hit roll. Should we just start that again? Alright, so he got 1 successful hit instead of 3. Wounding her on a 3+. He does wound her. So that then becomes that she gets no save, does 2 damage, takes her down to 0 wounds. She then has to take an injury roll. And it's only a flesh wound. It's only a flesh wound. Yeah, Bonk got very unlucky there, but what a difference parry made, huh? If I hadn't remembered that, she'd probably be dead right now. But yes, parry. That's a pretty good skill, right? Pretty darn good, especially if you pair it with a power sword. Anyway, so she's actually very much alive. Down to toughness 2, but very much alive, which means she gets to make a reaction attacks. So she turns around, and because she turned around, remember, this is why facing is important, kids, she gets a -1 to hit. So, she gets 3 attacks, and these will hit on 4s because she had to turn. And she doesn't hit with any of them, so Bonk got very unlucky there, but so did she. So I guess that makes them even, right? However, the problem is, that was just reaction attacks. She'll still get to fight in her own activation. However, the group activation still isn't actually done yet. Chuckles over here is the next part of the equation, you see. I think he's going to be moving over there, and then he's going to be trying to shoot something. Problem is, I don't know if he can actually see anything. So we'll have to check. Right, it's bloody difficult to tell for sure, because with all this stuff in the way, I can't really get down there and have a proper look. But I think he can see a little bit of Stalker's head and shoulders there. So he's going to fire his rivet cannon up at her. She obviously is in heavy cover. She's in full cover right now. So this will be a -2. So he's only going to hit on a 6, but he's going to give it a go with his rivet cannon in rapid fire mode. Yeah, no, it doesn't. Don't know ammo check, but it doesn't even come close to hitting her. Okay, Escher activation next. Got to think about who that's going to be, because obviously I want to see Sarge strike back at Bonk, but tactically we need to go with a different option for now. Right, next activation, Blue. Blue totally wants to charge Stripes on the ground there and stick him with her stiletto sword. So that's what she's going to try and do. Now, the thing is, on her way there, well, first of all, what's the number she gets for the charge roll? Okay, big 3. So she got a an 8-inch charge. I had to count that in my head for a minute there. Been a long day. She's got an 8-inch charge, but part of that is going to be dropping down from here. Now, when you drop down from an overhang or something like that, you take an initiative test, and if you fail it, you take falling damage. Well, you potentially take falling damage anyway. So 3+. She actually fails it. So she goes down here, like so, and she takes a strength 3 hit, I believe, at that falling distance. So wound her on a 4. What was that? It's a 2 in the way in the shadows there. Okay, so it doesn't wound her. She doesn't take any damage from the fall there. She kind of stumbled and didn't quite stick the landing, but she's okay. And she has plenty of movement left now to move over here. Stripes is going to hop up back to its feet, and now she's going to try and stick him with her stiletto sword. She gets 2 attacks with it. I think she only hits once. I believe champions hit on a 3+, so she hits once, and this is a toxin weapon. So now what happens is we go straight to trying to beat their toughness, I think, like with the gas weapon, but I'm not totally sure. Let me check. Alright, that took a while. It turns out it wasn't very clear cut on whether or not you get an armor save against a toxin attack, because I noticed that the stiletto sword has AP -1. I thought, well, the rules as written don't seem to imply that you get an armor save, so why does a toxin weapon have AP -1? And then I had to go trolling around on internet forums and discovered that one of the creators of the game confirmed that you are supposed to get an armor save against toxin attacks. So again, as I've said already in this video, the rules for this game are not amazingly well written. This is one example. It was boiling down quickly to a case of just apply common sense, and common sense in this case would say, yeah, of course you apply an armor save. To see if the toxin, just hits the armor or doesn't actually hit him. So, first of all, we try and beat his toughness, which at the moment is 3, because he's got a flesh wound. Beat it or equal it, which we failed to do. So, after all that, it didn't bloody matter. Now, Stripes gets to fight back with his reaction attacks. Now, the weird thing is, he's got 2 melee weapons, but his profile says he only has 1 attack, and I think you only still get 1 attack, even if you've got 2 melee weapons, unless they're the same type of melee weapon, in which case you then get an extra attack, which is a bit weird, if I'm honest, because it kind of makes, aside from the slightly different profiles of the Brute Cleaver and the Spudjacker, it doesn't seem like there's much point in carrying 2 separate melee weapons. It doesn't give you much of a benefit, really, if I'm honest. Part of me, unless this has been confirmed somewhere again, as we've just discovered, the rules for this game are a bit of a labyrinth. Unless it's been confirmed elsewhere, you're supposed to do it this way. Part of me is tempted to house rule that he should get an extra attack with the other weapon. So, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So he's going to attack once with his Spudjacker and once with his Brute Cleaver. Actually, no, I've changed my mind. I'm going to go with it as written, because I already did that up here with Sarge, because she's got a stiletto sword and a power sword. I didn't give her an extra attack with the stiletto sword, so we're going to carry on as we started, I think. So he just gets 1 attack. He's going to use his Spudjacker. He hits. He doesn't wound, though. Darn. Alright. Okay. Blue didn't get to use her fancy dodge skill. I was kind of looking forward to that. Never mind. Alright. Now it's the Goliath's turn to activate. And what are we going to do is the question. What are we going to do? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Thud. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to activate Thud here. First thing he's going to do is try and reload his shotgun on a 4+. Which he does, legend. Well done, Thud. So he's reloaded his combat shotgun. And I think he may now shoot someone with it, potentially. Or... no, he can't charge. He should have charged instead of reloading it. So that's water under the bridge now. I think I'm going to see if maybe... I'm going to get him to throw a grenade again. Even though he's reloaded his shotgun, that's good and all. I'm not actually going to use it. I'm going to have him throw a grenade. I'm going to have him throw a grenade at Screamer. And is he going to have to take a cool check for this? Because you see, these two are closer, but they're also locked in combat, which means that they're not necessarily the easier targets. So I don't think he needs to take a cool check in this case. Common sense to me says he shouldn't need to take a cool check because he's throwing a grenade. He's not going to throw a grenade right at his mate's feet, is he? So no cool check. I'm officially ruling that. Question is, does he hit with it? Obviously, what he's going to do is he's going to place the grenade there, so that if she gets knocked back, it'll be straight into the wall and do an extra point of damage. Does he hit though? He does. Okay, so the grenade hits. Brilliant. That was a 4, so she is knocked back into the wall. We'll take an extra point of damage from this if he wounds her. Strength 3, toughness 3, 4+ to wound. Doesn't wound her though. Okay. I feel like a frag grenade ought to be a bit more lethal than that, but there it is. I think they're only strength 3. Anyway. Okay. Get rid of your marker. Oh, get rid of your marker, sir. And now back over to the Eschers. And I think Stalker is going to shoot up at Gaz. That's what's going to happen. She's going to aim and shoot to boot as well. So I think he's in partial cover right now. Because of the fact that he's on that rooftop and, he's partially concealed by the edge of the rooftop itself. So -1, +1 for aiming, hits on a 4+. She hits, but she does have to take an ammo check. Luckily, it's only a las gun, so 2+, fine. Brilliant. Then it's going to be a 5 to wound, which she fails to wound him. Okay. So Gaz is fine, but tell you what he is, he's binned. Yes, he is. Take away her activation marker. Back over to the Goliaths now. And why don't we activate... Let's activate Gaz. He's going to get back on his feet. And he's going to shoot down at Screamer. Is he going to shoot at Screamer? I think he's going to shoot at Screamer. Cool check. Will it be required? You know what? It might be in this case. Let's just roll it and see. Yeah, he passes it. He's fine. Good old Goliath. Cool check stats. Good stuff. So he's going to fire his stub cannon down at her. I'm pretty sure she's at long range for him right now. And he misses. No ammo check, though. Okay. Back over to the Eschers. Scream is going to go next. She's going to fire her las gun at... whoever she shoots at is going to be in partial cover because you can be obscured by other models. So I think if she wants to shoot, judging by where she is, if she wants to shoot Thud, he'll be in partial cover. If she wants to shoot Gaz, he'll be in partial cover. Let's shoot Thud. He's been a bit more of a nuisance than Gaz. I think they're about equidistant, honestly. Actually, Thud's probably a little closer because it's not diagonal, so no cool check needed. She hits. No ammo check. She doesn't wound, though. Bloody Goliaths and their toughness 4, eh? Okay. Back over to the Goliaths. Stripes is now activated. He only made reaction attacks earlier. This is his actual attack he's going to make. And he misses with it. Well done, mate. Well done. Blue now gets a reaction attack back at him. She gets 2 attacks. She hits both times. She is going to... Alright, this is toxin in it. So, right. Got to beat 4 plus. Okay, so 1 4 plus. He can make an armor save against that. 6 plus, because it's AP -1. But she's attacking his front with his furnace plates, so... Okay, no save made. Injury roll for him. He is critically wounded. Now, because she didn't charge, she doesn't get the coup de grace on him. So, actually, he should be face down. She doesn't get the coup de grace on him. Oh, wait a minute. Flesh wound. He's only toughness 3. He should have another one. Save, 6 plus. No. Injury dice. Another serious wound. Okay, right. Nothing really changes then. Okay. But yes, because she didn't charge, in this activation we're doing here, this is just reaction attacks. You can't coup de grace someone from reaction attacks, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So she's engaged with him. He's lying on the floor seriously injured, but she can't finish him off just yet. Not until the next turn, when she can do the coup de grace action, potentially. Assuming he doesn't get back up again. Right. Who's left? Sarge. Sarge is left. She's over here. Oh, and Red, still writhing around on the floor in pain. She's technically still left as well. Let's do Sarge now. 3 attacks for her against Bonk. She hits 3 times. 4 plus to wound. She wounds once. He doesn't get a save. It's damage 1. He has 1 wound remaining. So let's get a wound dice. First one I've had to use in this game. He's got 1 wound remaining. There we go. But otherwise, he is in fine fighting fettle still, which means he gets reaction attacks. Oh, yes, indeed. Good attacks from him. He hits once. He wounds. She does not get a save. This will be damage 2. She already got flesh wound. Yes, she has from earlier. So, another 2 injury dice. Flesh wound and seriously injured. Okay. So she goes down seriously injured. And again, like before, you can't coup de grace from reaction attacks. So she's just lying on the floor at his feet. Sorry about my camera angles and stuff here. They've not been great, have they? I need to remember to look through the screen here and not around the camera. It's where you've been getting random shots of buildings and crates. Sorry about that. I've been doing battle reports for a while. But there's something about Necromunda with all the extra terrain and me having to wrangle my hand in there to get at stuff. Makes me lose, as I was saying, it makes me lose focus on what's going on with the camera. Thanks for that, app. Going off again because the battery is once again incredibly low. I'm going to have to replace this thing pretty soon. It's constantly running out of storage space and it's constantly running out of battery, even much faster than it used to. Problem is getting another camera that's as good as this is going to be expensive. Arg. Anyway, never mind. Right. Okay. Red, she'll just pass. She's staying where she is. So that brings us to the end of the turn. Bottle tests. Goliaths. They roll a 2, plus 1 out of action, plus 1 seriously injured. They are fine. The Eschers. 3. 1 out of action, 1 seriously injured. That brings them up to 5. They are also fine. This is crazy. Like the first couple of games I played with these 2 6-man gangs, like everyone was failing bottle tests all over the place. But in this game, no one wants to retreat. It's kind of interesting. Right, so recovery rolls now. Sarge remains critically injured. That's extremely bad news for her. What about Stripes? He also remains seriously injured, which is also really bad news for him. Okay, right. What about Red, up on the top there? She is out of action. Red's had it. She's bled out, basically. So she's gone. Get rid of those tokens as well. There we go. So Red's had it. Okay. Actually, they had 2 seriously injured and 1 out of action, so they would have rolled a 6 in total there, but that was still fine. On their bottle test, I mean. Okay, so she's just bled out now. She's fallen unconscious or whatever. Okay. Roll off time again. Turn 5. It's a tie. The Goliaths went first last time, so the Eschers win this tie. Okie dokie. Okay, so here's the deal. This is what's going to happen. Stalker is going to do something very bloody risky. She can see Sarge down there on the floor, about to be completely curb stomped by Bonk. And she has to do something to intervene right now, otherwise her leader is toast. So, what she's going to do is she's going to charge. Bearing in mind, she does have a stiletto knife, so she's not completely useless in close combat. She's got to make the charge, though, is the thing. So gets a +2, so she has a 7-inch charge, so that, I think, will get her in, but the thing is she's got to go 1, 2, and then drop down to the bottom. I'll put her there, you can't see her right now, but the thing is, does she pass the initiative test for that drop down? No, she doesn't. Right, strength 3 hit. It does wound her. She doesn't get an armor save. And she takes a flesh wound. Okay. She's on her feet. But she's walking a bit funny now. Something went crunch. Okay, so she makes it into combat with Monsieur Bonk. However, she does have a flesh wound, so she's toughness 2 right now. She's limping a bit, I think. Oh dear, that was knock. Oof. Falling damage, kids, it's not fun. Okay, she has 1 attack with this stiletto knife. Hits on a 4+. She hits. Now she's just got to roll to equal or beat his toughness on a 4+. She doesn't. She fails. So the toxin has no effect on Bonk, and he is unscathed, with 1 wound still remaining. The main thing is that because she's now engaged Bonk in combat, he cannot do a coup de grace on Sarge because he's engaged with someone else. I believe that's how it works. So, she has temporarily bought Sarge some time, but she might now be about to get smacked in the face with a giant power mallet. So, let's get 3 dice for Bonk. He hits on 3s. He'll wound on 3s. 2 wounds. She gets no save. And this is going to be... Oh god, I think it's another 4 injury dice. Okay, she takes another 2 flesh wounds and dies, basically. She already had 1. That would bring her to toughness 0. And she's out of action. Okay. So that was a glorious attempt to heroism from the Escher ganger. Which is spectacularly backfired because now Bonk can activate and squish Sarge with a coup de grace just like he intended to. So this annoying little Escher has jumped down, nearly broken a foot or broken one of her legs in the fall, run over to him, tried to stab him with a toxin knife, and he's turned around and he's just whacked her like a mole with his mallet, and then he's turned back to the business at hand, as if nothing had ever happened. I love it. Alright, back over to the Goliaths now, and we're going to activate Gaz. And he's going to try and possibly do what Stalker should have done, and just try and shoot the bastard instead. So what he's going to do is he's going to aim his stub cannon down there at Blue and shoot her. Right. Okay, so I don't think he needs a cool check for this. Let's just roll it just in case, shall we? Okay, he does on a 4+. That's actually not good enough. Because I'm thinking right now, actually, Sarge is technically an easier target. Lying on the floor there. So I guess he'd have to shoot her instead. Yeah, because there's no, like, there's no restriction on shooting into combat like in 40k. You can shoot into combat all day long. In Necromunda. I can't remember if it gives you a -1 to hit or anything, but I think only if like you physically, the target is physically obscuring you a bit, and if you miss, there's a chance that you will hit your friend instead, which I think is what might happen here. So So, okay. Yaz is, I mean, should it really count if they're lying on the floor seriously injured? I feel like it shouldn't. Common sense, right? She's lying in a pool of her own blood right now. I don't think he's going to panic and shoot her instead of the... Yeah, okay, you know what? Ignore that cool check. I'm going to apply some common sense and say that you don't need to pass a cool check to shoot someone instead of the one lying in a pool of blood, blubbering on the floor. So, alright, forget that. He is just going to shoot at blue. He misses, though, so all of that for nothing. Wait, it wasn't for nothing. He rolled a 3, and since he's doing nothing else, he would have aimed in addition to shooting. So that actually would have been a hit, so ignore me. 3 to wound. It is a wound. 6 up save on her. Failed. How much damage does a stub cannon do when it's at home? Stub cannon. Damage 1. Okay, so I need to go fetch another wound dice because... because blue only has a wound remaining. And if there had been a miss, more to the point, I should have rolled to see if the shot hit stripes on the floor instead, actually. But as I said, it wasn't a miss, so... She's pinned, though, actually, now. Yep, she's pinned, and she has lost a wound. Champions have 2 wounds each, so... Right, back to the Eschers now. And Screamer is going to shoot at Thud. Hits. Finally wounds. Does he get his furnace plates save? No, he doesn't. Injury roll for you, sir. Oh, what was it? Come here. Out of action? Oh my god, okay. Well, there goes Thud. He's had it. He's out. He's toast. The quarterback is toast. Lasgun shot right between the eyes. Blumeneck. Never underestimate the humble Lasgun, folks. Right. Okay, back to the Goliaths. And, what is there left for them to activate? I guess, well, there's you. Do you know what? We're going to activate Stripes. This is important, you see. Because he now gets to crawl 2 inches. Like so. Taking his flesh wound with him. Which means that when Blue gets back up on her feet, she won't be engaged in combat with him anymore. And because she'll use an action to get back up, she can't charge, which means she can't coup de grace Stripes, which means Stripes may yet live to see another day. So, that's done now. Now we go back over to the Eschers. We activate Blue. She stands up. Now, there's nothing stopping her from just leveling her shotgun at him and shooting him point blank range. He could totally do that. However, it might be a better use of resources right now to instead shoot Bulk. Sorry, recording cut me off again. I was about to say this is really high risk, high reward. So what she's going to do, she clambers back to her feet, levels her shotgun, and again another solid slug, this time at Bonk. And this time, ladies and gentlemen, what's going to happen is she's going to fire at him. If she misses, there's a good chance she'll hit Sarge instead on the floor there. And if she hits Sarge, Sarge might be toast. However, if she can hit Bonk, she stands a good chance of doing him in. And even if she doesn't completely do him in, her shotgun with the solid slugs has the knockback trait, which means she can knock him back out of engagement range with with Sarge, and pin him in the process. So we'll have the exact same thing repeat here. Sarge might get to live instead of being coup de grace. So, long and short of it is, she really, really needs to not miss this. Now, her ballistic skills are 3+ because she's a champion. -1 because he's in partial cover right now because of this barricade being in the way. But +1 because she's at short range, so it's going to be a 3+. She hits, no ammo check. 4+ to wound. She wounds. I don't know if there's any AP on the solid slug. Does he get a 5+ save? No. So he loses his last wound. Injury roll. He takes a flesh wound. However, he is knocked back and pinned. Which means Sarge is not going to actually get curb stomped just yet. Pointing the camera at the wrong bit of the table again there. Apologies for that. Anyway. Okay. Let's see. Who's left to activate? Chuckles and Bonk are left to activate. I think all of the Eschers have gone now. What few Eschers are actually remaining on the table anyway. There's only 3 of them left. And one of them is seriously injured. Okay, let's see. What are we going to do? Let's reactivate Bonk, I suppose. Activate the Bonk. Yeah, he's going to stand up. Get rid of his token here. He's going to stand up, and he is going to fire his pistol at who? That's the question. Is he just going to fire it at Sarge on the floor? He might do. He might very well do that. Or is he going to shoot blue? Need a cool check to shoot blue. Where are my dice at? I think he's going to try and shoot blue. Passes his cool check, so he absolutely can. So he's going to shoot blue. It's going to be hitting on 3+. He hits. No ammo check. He wounds on a 6. Very nice. She doesn't get a save. This is 2 damage. She only has 1 wound left, so this will be 2 injury rolls for it. And she's out of action. Double out of action. Bloody hell. Okay, yeah. Blue is very, very, very out of action. Holy crap. Okay, he made the right choice there. And that leaves Chuckles. Chuckles, 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 Chuckles. What should we do with Chuckles? Well, what Chuckles is going to do is very simple. He's moved around the corner. He's now going to shoot Sarge on the floor with his rivet cannon. Rapid fire. He misses. Rivets pinging off in random different directions, but ultimately fine. Do you know what? Actually, there might be a chance he hit Bonk in his eagerness to get the kill, because Bonk is within a couple of inches of the line of shooting between the 2 of them. So, right. On a 4+, I think Bonk gets hit instead. Okay, very lucky bastard. The rivets didn't hit Bonk instead. I need to remember that rule more often. Sometimes I forget that you can hit your own blokes if they're, if they're close enough to your line of fire. Like that. Right, that brings us to the end of the turn. And then bottle checks. And at this point, bottle checks are immaterial because the Eschers have... Well, yeah, they're not doing great. They have Sarge critically injured on the floor. Screamer standing over there by the door. And that's it. That's it. Everyone else is out of action. So what you can do in Necromunda is if you're losing and you don't want to take any more of a beating, you can voluntarily fail your bottle test and flee the battlefield. You'd roll an initiative check, I think, for anyone who's still in combat to try and get away. But no one actually is in combat right now, so... Yeah. Sarge will crawl away to safety. And Screamer... is going to leg it as well because she figures her chances are not so good right now. Okay, right. And that's it, basically. That's the end of the battle. The Goliaths stand victorious. Those of them that are remaining... Sorry, camera cut me off again. Yeah. Well done, lads. Well done indeed. The Ironbreakers win this round. The Eschers won the last... little tussle between these 2 particular gangs, actually, so I think they're even Stevens right now. They're 2-2 in terms of their previous games. Obviously, I didn't film those ones, but... Right, if this was a campaign game, we'd now have a bunch of other stuff to do, like rolling to find out what happened to all the downed fighters, how badly injured they were, how many credits that the Goliaths win from this scenario, and so on and so on and so on. XP is gained, and so on and so forth. However, because this is just a one-off skirmish, we're just going to pretend that everyone recovers from their injuries and the credits are immaterial. So, cool. But yes, the narrative is 2 gangs walked into this ruined building, 1 gang walked out. And that gang was the Ironbreakers. Well done, lads. I have to admit, I wasn't the hugest fan of the Goliaths to begin with when I originally got into Necromunda. But after I read their lore in the House of Chains book, I started to really, really like these guys. They have a bunch of cool optional rules as well, which I didn't use in this scenario, called like gene smithing, I think it's called. Which if I do a campaign, I think I actually do want to take advantage of with these guys. But anyway. Yes, so that was fun. Yeah, there it is, folks. There you go. Goliaths win. A newbie's attempt at playing a bit of Necromunda while also filming it, which was really tough, actually. I was not prepared for the additional workload mentally that filming this would add to the experience. Overall, much quicker to film and easier to film than a full-on 40k battle report. It didn't take me 2 days. It took me the better part of an evening instead, which is a huge difference. So that's one nice thing about filming Necromunda. I'm sure I got a bunch of rules wrong. I think I consistently kept forgetting nerve tests. Probably were a bunch of nerve tests that should have happened in this swirling melee in the middle here that I forgot. That's my biggest cardinal sin with Necromunda at the minute, is forgetting nerve tests. But aside from that, I think I did okay-ish. I think I did all right. Obviously, if you know the rules better than me and I made a bunch of mistakes, please let me know what they are so I can correct them in future. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, please, for the love of God, let me know in the comments. Also, like the video. Also, maybe consider subscribing if you like video game Let's Plays and 40k battle reports, because that's also what I also do. And yeah, please let me know if you're interested in me doing a campaign series of Necromunda. I have a gang of Orlocks in the post on their way to me at the minute, and once they are built and painted up, I also kind of want to get my hands on some Enforcers as well, which will give me four gangs to play with, which I think is probably enough to run a campaign with. Be a very basic campaign, probably just a narrative campaign. I wouldn't do all the territory management stuff necessarily. But it could be fun, watching the little narrative emerge. Have one of the gangs come out on top, and then maybe have them try and win the campaign by successfully doing the Blaze of Glory scenario, where basically the gang has become rich and powerful enough to try and attempt to escape the planet. You know, they have to try and steal an Imperial shuttle, and then break orbit, and fly through the Imperial blockade, and probably get blown to smithereens in the process. But that's how I envisage a campaign like that ending. That could be fun. I don't know. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. If you liked watching a bit of Necromunda, well, I hope you did. I really enjoy playing it at the minute. As I said in the past, 40k 9th edition and me have a complicated, marmitey kind of relationship at the minute, which is why I've been dabbling in other games like Necromunda and Middle-earth and Age of Sigmar. And Necromunda's really doing it for me at the moment. Something about the setting and the narrative and the lore just really goddamn clicks with me, and I love it. It's so good. And the battles themselves are just tremendously entertaining. Loads of really fun moments in this one. And you'd only get more fun moments in a campaign with bigger gangs and more fun toys being thrown around and so on and so on. So, anyway, I've noticed that my cable's become unplugged again. There we go. It's plugged back in now. So I'm going to wrap this up because I've been battling the charger cable this entire evening, and it has soured the experience ever so slightly. But regardless, I hope you had fun, folks. I certainly did, in spite of this bloody piece of technology. And I'll catch you in the next one, assuming there is going to be a next one. At this point, I'm thinking I might, because this has been a lot of fun. Yeah. Next up on the channel is probably going to be an Age of Sigmar battle report. There was a toss-up today between whether I wanted to do Necromunda or Age of Sigmar. Necromunda won in the end, because I already had the table set up. But the next battle report I do on the channel is going to be Age of Sigmar. And then after that, we'll get back to the War in Heaven campaign for 40k. I just wanted to take a quick break from 40k after that massive 2,500 point battle report I did, because that drained me brain energy-wise so hard. I needed to play something else for a bit, so... Right, that's it. Nothing else to say. Thanks for watching, folks. Catch you in the next one. Toodaloo.